Hey everybody, what's up? Happy Monday and happy, week 3. It's actually this video, the reason I paused, because I'm going to be using this video both for my Transform 20 group, hey guys, and for my wellness group, okay? And both of you are actually in week 3, so interesting enough. Hey, but Transform 20 people, just side note, congratulations, you've moved into the climb stage, yep. And wellness group, you guys are kicking butt too. Enjoy the hybrid calendar this week. Okay. So we are going to talk about a super important subject that not only pertains to you understanding physically how to achieve your specific goals regarding your health and your body, but also the psychology behind things. Because if you haven't heard me say this by now, I'll say it for the 50 millionth time, which I don't mind repeating myself. Better health, better habits, long-term sustainability, long-term growth, long-term change is always going to be located in your mindset. How you perceive things, how you view things, how you perceive the actions that are required, how you look at your progress. There's a lot of things. It's not simple. It's a little bit complicated, but I'm going to try to give you kind of a frame of mind change this week. So this is going to be kind of the overall theme this week. And I'm not only going to talk about the psychology behind this, but I'm going to give you like logistic, checklists, because look, obviously this kind of stems from, and don't take this personally if this is you, because this is about 90% of women, I think. There has been, whether it's from what we were told incorrectly growing up or what society puts out there or whatever the situation is, there is definitely incorrect information and quote unquote brainwashing that takes place when it comes to better health, that we must obsessively look at the scale, and that the scale is the end all be all, metric system of if I'm doing the right thing. So I want to kind of break that down to you this week. So in that regard, today we're going to be talking about, weight loss versus fat loss, and then putting in their muscle gain, because all three of those things have to be paid attention to. And so the issue is that most people get on a scale, they look at what the number says, and that means everything. But obviously, guys, our body is made up of many different things, right? Predominantly, and I'm not a doctor, so don't ask me to list everything, but yes, it's made up of fat, and it's also made up of muscle, and it's also made up of bone and organs and all of the different things, right? So we can't just get on a scale and say this one number represents how fat I am, okay? Now, that being said, am I here to blow smoke up your you-know-what and tell you you should never be expecting weight gain weight loss, and if you never see the scale move, everything's okay? No, every single person is very, very different, okay? If you are on the obesity spectrum, then yeah, you're obviously in a stage where you need to see fairly consistent weight loss. Even with that being said, we'll talk about throughout the week kind of the checklist of how to tell if I do need to be patient and I do just need to be more consistent, or if something needs to be tweaked in what I'm doing. But even if you have a good amount of weight to lose, which to me a good amount of weight to lose is over 10 pounds, over 10 to 15 pounds, then you still are not going to see, even if you did everything perfectly every week, you're not going to see the exact same rate of weight loss. I've seen people lose 10 pounds in a week and then not lose anything for 2 more weeks. Our bodies are complicated. It's not just this is the way it should go as long as I do this and that. So let's talk about weight loss first of all versus fat loss, okay? So I have my notes here. So anybody can lose weight, right? Just don't eat. And unfortunately, that is what's jacked up a lot of people mentally and physically, right? You will lose weight, but you will also, unfortunately, the weight you lose will be both muscle and fat. So we all want to agree, I'm assuming, that what we want to lose is the fat, not the muscle, right? And we're going to talk about how muscle works into our metabolism, but muscle also is what makes you look the certain way. A lot of times if you look at body types that look unhealthy and don't look strong, it's not just that there's additional unwanted fat on the body, it's that there is a shortage of muscle. That's what gives us our shape. That's also just what, health-wise prevents injuries and helps us, keep from losing bone density and all these other types of things. The goal to successful weight loss is to preserve as much muscle as possible and possibly even gain some, while at the same time losing body fat. So your body fat percentage is a key indicator of your success, not the scale, right? And so if you find yourself kind of falling into the hole of the scale taking away your momentum mentally, my opinion is that you can go, and they're more expensive, but there are scales out there that give you a body fat percentage reading versus just weight. Muscle is vital to your success for losing fat. Muscles have these little fat burning powerhouses called mitochondria, and the mitochondria are cellular power plants that are responsible for the production of energy. And that is where the fat is metabolized. So there's a positive correlation between the amount of muscle you have and the number of mitochondria. And it stands to reason that the more mitochondria you have, the more potential to burn fat. And if you want to get to a place in your life where you're not constantly dieting and constantly worrying, you've got to put muscle on and you've got to get your body trained to burn fat. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden you can just go days on end with eating whatever you want. But when people say, oh my God, I just look at food and I gain weight, I know that's partially a joke, but part of it too is that the metabolism is not there. And usually it's not there because there's a lack of muscle, right? HIIT training is great, weight training, and this is why one of the first things that I talk to, and if you've been a client of mine for a while, you probably know this, a lot of my clients come from, my Zumba classes, and I love Zumba. It's a great workout. It's predominantly cardio, even though I personally try to put some type of resistance training. But most women I find have a shortage of weight training, and for all kinds of different reasons, but it's really essential for our well-being. Let's see. By creating a large demand for energy and above what your body can already produce, your body is forced to create new mitochondria in order to be prepared for the next time your muscles need all that extra energy. So the great thing about muscle and mitochondria is that they are an active tissue. Unlike fat, they need constant energy to maintain themselves. Energy like fatty acids, right? So that means basically that your body will be burning fat at all times of the day, even when you're sleeping. Yep. It is possible to burn fat in your sleep. And so those of you that are thinking about intermittent fasting, that's a big reason to do intermittent fasting. It allows your body to do quite a bit while it is sleeping. So preserving muscle while losing fat, which is our goal, right? And if that is the case, and if you agree, we're going to need to focus on preserving your muscle while you lose fat. And people tend to sabotage themselves and their diets by eating too little food and too little nutrients, because it's very frustrating and it's difficult for me as a coach, because there's been a lot of people that really have bought into the belief system that it's all calories. I got to stay within, these low calories. And if I eat too much food or too many calories, I'm going to get fat. No, dude. But if you eat too little and you don't eat the right nutrients or enough calories, then you are going to be having muscle loss, and that's not what you want. Once you start losing muscle, you're fighting an uphill battle to lose fat. So the less muscle you have, the harder it is for you to lose any fat. Just keep that in your mind. And it's one of the reasons why diets fail. It's the truth. To prevent muscle loss, make sure that you have these basic guidelines: enough calories for your body size and activity level, right? Those need to be nutrient dense. That is the big thing. A lot of people say, oh, I feel like I'm eating so much food, but your body needs nutrient dense food. And you will find that when you're feeding your body nutrient dense food versus food that is vacant of those nutrients, you will be full probably faster than you're used to. So it's really typical, whether you're doing high fat, low carb, or even the fixate, it's very typical for people to say to me in the beginning, I feel like I can't finish all my food. And that's a whole other topic of a video, how important that is. I don't think you absolutely, if you don't check off every container, you don't need to force feed yourself. You need to become in tune with your body. But if you find yourself getting hungry, and that's leading to eating foods that don't serve you, then you might want to reevaluate that, okay? So here's an interesting kind of side-by-side comparison. Weight loss versus fat loss, right? Weight loss, which is usually, I'm talking about when people do this by crash dieting or improper training, you're gonna have decreased fitness, decreased strength, poor performance, early aging, and a reduced immunity. Versus if we look at fat loss with correct nutrition and training, we have improved fitness, and greater strength, peak performance, delayed aging, and reduced risk of diseases. Now, I don't know about you, but the second option is the one that I'd like to sign up for, just saying. Because I know for most of you, probably when I said delayed aging, that's when your ears perked up and you're like, I'm listening. So those are some things to consider, because I know a lot of you contact me after we weigh in and you have concerns if you don't see the scale moving. So this week I'm going to cover this topic in a little bit more in depth, and we're going to break it down into kind of a series. But the first thing I would recommend you do as an assignment, so that as you're following what I'm giving you this week, you can kind of say, okay, where do I fall in these scenarios? Really look at the checklist of this program and try to kind of, I would recommend evaluating yourself in each category and giving yourself a score. Now, when I'm going to give you this assignment, it's not meant for you to go to a negative place. I need you to try to, as much as possible, even though I know this area in life tends to be a little triggering, a little sensitive, but I want you to try to step back and just look at it from an educational standpoint. How am I performing in these different areas? And if there's an area where I feel like it's a little bit less than, what do I need in order to show up in a different way? Do I need some help from my coach? Do I need better organization? Whatever it is. So to me, I would look at these areas. First of all, your nutrition, because to me, your nutrition is going to be more important than several of the other things I'm going to list. So nutrition means on the plan that you've selected, so whether you're doing high fat, low carb, or you're doing fixate, are you tracking your containers? Now, I know this is not the sexiest part, you guys. I know this is a pain in the arse. And eventually, I'm going to tell you, you're not going to have to scrutinize this quite so much. Although I'll tell you, every once in a while, I go back to using my containers a little bit more strict when I feel like I'm starting to kind of wander a little too far. But meaning, if you are doing one of the plans and it's giving you the allocation of 6 servings of veggies, are you tracking those? Whether you're journaling what you're eating, whether you're using the tracker app, whatever system that you're using, you got to have a system in place, right? Because part of that is how you and I are going to evaluate how things are going, and if certain things need to be adjusted, we first need to know, what are we doing? What are we getting into our body each day? Of course, it goes without saying, are you avoiding as much processed foods as possible and foods that are not on the plan that you have selected? It never means you have to be perfect to get results, but we do have to have intention and awareness into what is my target and where do I fall in relation to that target, okay? Of course, your Shakeology every day falls into that category. The more consistently you take it, obviously, the better that it's gonna work. Your water. Where are you at your water? Remember that the minimum goal is half your body weight in ounces, and that may be new to you. It's a process, but are you tracking that? Now, again, you can do this a few different ways. You can say, well, okay, like for me, my goal is to try to get in, I want to always get in 80 ounces to 90 ounces a day is my goal. Do I always do that? No, but that's where I've noticed I feel best, because I'm also doing these workouts and teaching at the gym. Like, I need to rehydrate. So I either know how many ounces is in the bottle that I'm using that day, and then I can multiply it in my head. I want to refill this bottle, 4 times or whatever it is. There's also the Plant Nanny app for your water. So different ways for that. And then of course you can go down the list to your exercise. Are you pushing play every day? that's assigned? Are you skipping any workouts? And then of course you can start to look at things like sleep. So what I would recommend that you do for yourself, and you can share it with the group if you'd like, or you can keep it to yourself or share it with your coach, make a list. Nutrition on a scale from, let's say, 1 to 5, and let's say 5 is the best. Give yourself a ranking, meaning, how closely am I sticking to it? How well am I tracking? Number 2, you can go into your, what did I say next? I don't know. It was amazing, I'm sure. But your Shakeology. How consistent are you on a scale 1 to 5? Your water goal. How consistent are you? Your exercise, your sleep. So I would recommend making that list, ranking yourself from 1 to 5. And here's why. When you're looking at all these things, it can become a little overwhelming. Oh my God, I got to get all these things working at its optimal level. But if I make this list and I go, wow, okay, so according to this list, my water is the lowest ranking. Well, then this week, what I'm going to do is that's where my first attention is going to be more intentional in tracking is my water. Doesn't mean I don't pay attention to the other areas, but it becomes easier to focus on one specific thing that you would like to see improvement on, okay? So that is your assignment for today, to do that. And then again, the rest of this week, this is the topic we're going to be staying in. And again, I'm not just going to be addressing the thought process in it. We're going to talk about logistical things and how our bodies work. And so that way you're not a slave to some arbitrary number on a scale, because it's just not that, it's not that simple to just look at that's what I weigh. That denotes if I'm good or bad. That says if I'm doing the right or wrong things. It's a lot more complicated than that. So I hope you'll stay with me this week and we can dive further into this. Do you have questions on this topic or what I've talked about today? Drop them in the comment section below. If you don't have a question, at the very least say watched, so I know that you received the information. Okay, guys, let's stay positive. Remember that these actions that we're doing are all about creating a gift to yourself on a daily basis that says, I matter enough to make sure that I am well taken care of before everyone else in my life is taken care of, because that makes me more productive, happier, a healthier person, which is better for every single loved one that surrounds me. Okay, guys? Happy Monday.